It's me, Judah McNeil, Ford Suze, and this is Reverse Redaction, and we are getting together another time. One of the last ones in this first season, I would say. Don't you think we're kind of winding down this season, Ford?
Yeah, I guess so. It has been a little bit harder to get together. We've both been busy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take a little break soon after season one and maybe revamp a little bit. But you can always go back and listen to all our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Stitch Radio, all those. And they're all like archived there. We'll start the new season towards the beginning of the summer. Now, today, what we're going to talk about is social media. We're going to reverse redact social media. Now, that's kind of a broad thing to reverse redact. Can we hone it down a little bit?
Yeah, I guess we're kind of talking specifically about how social media and the web in general have kind of gotten hijacked when you look at their original mission, which seemed to be to help the individual navigate so much information, to be able to better share this information, to be able to better distribute, to make the individual more powerful, in terms of consumption and distribution of information or content. But we're in this weird time where I don't think anyone knows what's really going on, and everyone's fighting each other and working at cross purposes. So we're going to talk about some of the difficulties with Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, primarily, but this extends to other things as well. I mean, I think it's even proving true. I think a lot of the internet, what would you call it? I mean, you could call it the dark web, but just people who are internet savvy, who've been around since the old message board days, and where they've ended up. They're on anonymous Twitter. They were on 4chan during the election process, and a lot of them went to Twitch, probably back in 2012 or so, 2011. But now even all these spaces are just kind of showing signs of wear. It seems like something's about to happen, that there's going to be a big shift. But yeah, we're going to talk about some of the symptoms of the problems on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube primarily, and Google.
Okay.
And
now you brought to my attention, there was this article, Hello Kitty People, on, it was talking about Nicholas Carr. It was by, what was the guy's name?
Nick Szabo.
Yeah, Nick Szabo. And he was talking about, I guess Nicholas Carr was complaining about machine learning, about machines controlling what we see, algorithms, right? He was complaining about algorithms and saying we need to go more towards
curation,
real eyeballs, people.
Yep. We need to put the gatekeepers back in. And this has been, I've heard this criticism repeatedly. In the early YouTube days, you had people complaining like, oh, it's someone wrote this one article. I can't remember. It was like, or no, he wrote a book. It was basically like, just mocking the fact that you can be a dilettante or not very talented at a certain field and rise to the top of it because there's no taste. There aren't any taste makers or taste curators. So and sometimes I've even felt this frustration with seeing some YouTube channels that have passed me, thinking, well, they're not that good at that. Why are they that high up? But they're good at marketing themselves, and they're good at they're good at a broad range of things. So there's this, I'm trying to think of, it's basically this book was talking about the rise of the amateur. I think it was something like that, talking about how professionalism is being ruined by the internet because you don't have good taste informing, and letting people know, gatekeepers that are keeping the bad junk out. So the irony is, and so Szabo makes some kind of interesting predictions. And unfortunately, what's ended up happening is that guy proved to be right. A lot of these companies, Google, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they have instituted gatekeepers. They had this technology that was working, but then people learned to game it through search engine optimization techniques, and then and through nepotism. Through who sorts of things, where these sites have become favored they started playing favorites with content that they like, or people that they like, or agendas that they want to promote. And
also businesses that they like. I mean, they got to make money.
Right. They do, but I mean, Google's whole initial value, its mission statement, was to not be evil. Was not to be a cronyist organization, and they became that. They got too big for their britches, and like you said, they had to start. And this is just repeated over and over in the history of the world, where people compromise. I mean, we call it selling out, but I mean, they're selling out on such a just dishonest level. It's like there's not a problem with capitalism. Like if you go back and look at the evolution of rock music. One of the first rock songs was called Rocket 88, and it was these guys singing about a car. Like it was literally like an advertisement for a car. But Rocket 88 didn't pay them to do this. They sang this because they just loved the Rocket 88, this car. And so that kind of thing is, there's something like, I don't know, kind of romantic about that form of capitalism. But what's the form of crony capitalism that Google, Twitter, Facebook are employing is this behind the scenes sort of cartelization, where deals are being made without people knowing that they're being made, and they know everything about you, but you know nothing about them. It's asymmetrical,
Well, and Sabos made that point because some people in the comments sort of took him to task about AI and how there isn't really a true AI. There's always an architect behind it with an agenda. And he said, yes, well, I'd rather it be open source. I'd much rather be an open source AI that people can see, everything's open and you can see what's going on. But then of course there's the whole troll effect, where that gets when it's open source, it gets gamed, it gets, like you're saying, it gets overpowered by trolls. And so there is a problem here with what he's saying. I think it goes back to, I think, what you're talking about, or what you've talked about, the difference between League of Legends and Fortnite. Or some of these things. It's like when you can game the system, it's no longer, it's all about the game rather than the system. And and the problem with having AI is the AI is very it can do a million things at one time, but it can't tell the difference between things sometimes, and it's easy to game.
Yeah, and that is true. And I think what ended up happening is, maybe it's there. I guess there's a confluence of problems here. There are a lot of things just coming together. One of them is this gatekeeper thing, where political opinions and questions of taste and politics have become important, and so gatekeepers are insinuated for those reasons. But then there's also the problem of the bad actors in the space. The bots on YouTube, the bots on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do when they start taking over everything? Well, you have to start dealing with that. And if you look at the web that we're in now, a lot of the, these are just kind of quickly formulated on the fly plans to try to deal with the mess, to try to deal with the amount of trolls and the amount of bots. And so you end up with compromises that really don't make anyone happy.
Yeah.
And I just think there's so much information going up to the web that in some ways maybe the gatekeeper critique is correct, that some things just need to be policed.
Yeah.
But the problem is the standards by which they're policed are not. I mean, so my channel, for instance, just yesterday I lost my full screen partnership with YouTube.
So I'm no longer a YouTube partner.
That. And this is, I'm certain I could sue them. I'm certain that this is a breach of contract. They gave me no fair warning. I mean, there's supposed to at least be some sort of notice. I have not heard from anyone in that company for better part of 6 months. So what I feel like it was is I feel like someone who got mad at something I said reported my channel. I have no community strike guidelines. I have no copyright strikes on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But I feel like someone manually reported me or wrote something in. And on the basis of that, it's just this sort of political correctness thing. I don't even know what I said. I mean,
now, wasn't it a blessing in disguise? Weren't you hoping to, like, didn't you always want to get
true.
out and then you missed the opportunity?
Yeah, so I think it is. I mean, it's probably better for everyone involved. It's just testament to, what they offered, what they didn't offer. That there's just so much of these people in tech that are really just they're just parasites. They're just really IP trolls, basically. They're rent seekers. They insinuate themselves in a situation, pretend to be middleman. So that is one of the problems with this gatekeeper thing is who watches the Watchmen, and most of the Watchmen just aren't good. I mean, they have the wrong mode of operation. That mode of operation is to make money, and make money at any cost, or to make their agenda known at any cost. So I was thinking about this, like with League of Legends, like I've been playing on a Smurf account, lower level account that, and it's populated by people about the same skill set as me. And it's just nonstop. I mean, it's just, as they say, cancer. I mean, these people are just totally trying to throw the game. Like they just want to lose. You do one thing wrong from their perspective, just one thing, the slightest little thing, and then they intentionally die. They, just tell you to jump off a bridge, blah, blah, blah.
Rage quit type thing.
Just do all kinds of stuff. So, I've been reporting these people left and right, and I'll get pretty regularly on that account. I get these notifications. Oh, someone you reported has been banned or has been put, punished.
Nice.
And so, but I was thinking about that. It's like, why, I do understand the need for gatekeepers. I do understand for the need for someone to say, no, this behavior is against the stated, the purpose of what we're getting together for. We're getting together to play the game and actually play, like not talk trash to each other, not, annoy each other, not just to shoot the crap, and when you play poker, everyone can talk. There's locker room talk, there's jockeying, there's joking around. You may get in someone's face, but because there's no anonymity there, I mean, it keeps people in check. But online, there isn't that, check. People are free to do whatever. And so in some ways, I think, it is an unideal circumstance. We have so much content being uploaded to YouTube and to Twitch, and to Twitter and to Facebook every day that I feel like that even the guys running this, they don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make money. So they're just cobbling together strategies, utilizing humans and machine that are ill suited to the task and are actually rewarding bad players. They're not now, ironically, in video games, I think they're doing a much better job because I think the goal is much more clear in Fortnite or PUBG or League. I think it's just more clear. People are playing a video game. They're trying to win. They're trying to have a good time. But on YouTube, it's just a little more clear. I mean, if a person has a political channel and they're saying politically inexpedient things from one person's point of view, well, I mean, I don't think that that's fair that someone can come in and just say, oh, well, I disagree with this, therefore delete the channel. Okay, what? I mean,
right. But if you don't if you don't have a common set of standards of morality,
right.
What's the difference between the free speech of pornography and the free speech of conservatism? If they both sort of offend on varying levels, then it's like, then if you can't allow one thing, it is up to the gatekeepers. And really, to me,
right, that's true.
It is up to the business. I'm fine if they want to ban all conservatives. If Facebook wants to ban all conservatives, I say go do it. It's your business.
It's your business.
In fact, I'd rather them do that because then conservatives will get off their butt and make their own thing. And I think I was watching the hearing, with not the Senate, the second one with the House,
right?
And it was a better show than. Or I don't know, the Senate did much better, I thought. I mean, no, did much worse. Anyways, what struck me is when the enormity of Facebook, when Zuckerberg is just sitting there trying to explain to them, I can't do anything about this. There are just too many people. I can do a little bit here and a little bit, but even with 20,000, 40,000 employees, 100,000 employees, there's still not enough for all the billions and billions of people that, or billions and billions of posts, at least, that are being uploaded every day. It's just the enormity of it. And what struck me was the problem isn't AI or versus humans. I think the problem is us. I think the problem is that we're all going to one place. We need, if we want to open up the market, we need to start shopping other places and creating in other arenas.
Yeah, and I think that is just becoming kind of the realization at this point that, partially it's their fault, but partially it's just the growth of this online community is just so enormous that a million people couldn't regulate it or keep the flow going the way that it went 5 years ago. It's just not tenable anymore. You've got, and the solutions that they've come up with, have ended up making them look like real crony capitalist organizations, like Facebook, especially. Like, if you want something to show up, you have to pay for it. Like, even on your profile. Like, I mean, that's stupid. But at the same time, it is the reality of the situation. We're all there. And there's too many people posting. You can't keep up with the amount of stuff that people are putting up. Our consumption interface, our eyes can't keep up with it. So I do think that it probably is the blame, as with all of these problems. Look at the healthcare system, you look at our political system, look at the school system. There are so many people to blame. We're all kind of complicit, whether it be the consumer or the producer or the gatekeeper or the politician or the lawyer or the accountant, whatever. Like, everyone kind of has their hand in the pot, and everyone's kind of in some ways working at cross purposes. And so I feel like on YouTube, it's like, is it really YouTube's fault? I do think a lot of this stems from bad leadership in all these companies. I think that they have I think Nick Szabo would have had a better idea. You need a tech person, not a politician, in these things to sort of solve some of these problems. And so, I mean, I just look at some of the moves that YouTube has made in the past 4 years. I just find them very curious and self-defeating. But that being said, a lot of the blame has to fall on the consumer. The reaction video thing. I mean, that didn't happen because YouTube planned it. I mean, so many of these things that became things on the internet, these weird children videos that are made by bots, finger family videos and stuff like that. Like, those things, they happen because parents were, and we were guilty of that too. Like, oh, good, there's a YouTube Kids app. Have fun, Rohan. And next thing you know, he's watching some weird thing. You're like, how did that even exist? It's just because it became, every parent was doing that. Oh yeah, it's fine. He's just gonna watch YouTube. So, like, we have created this sort of monster. We're all kind of complicit, and I don't really know what the road out is, but I think we probably need more, to migrate, to look for other new lands, I guess.
Well, I really do think we're on the verge of, for better or for worse, we're on the verge of a schism of sorts, where I think there will be some more conservative voices, more conservative money getting into the social media realm, and that might not be a good thing.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Right now, Twitter, I mean, mostly most of the, I think it's unfair to characterize like most of the accelerationists as alt-right, but there is, an alt-right contingent in the neo-reaction side of the accelerationist group. But I mean, there are liberal accelerationists, and the liberal accelerationists can have interesting conversations with the, more middle of the road to right-winged accelerationists. But I mean, that to me is the most fertile place I found on the internet, and it's a lot less nasty than 4chan, was during the election. I mean, 4chan is nasty. So I feel like that's where I go now. I just Twitter. Yeah. And so as long as, and again, it is asymmetrical. There's much more, unwillingness to understand. I mean, someone on the left wing can actually call for someone to die and nothing will happen. And someone on the right, further right than me will say something, like politically incorrect and be banned for 24 hours or whatever. So, but yeah, whatever. I mean, it is what it is, and there's still people there, and there's some interesting conversations going on. But yeah, I don't really know. As I think for a long time, I thought it would be Reddit. Reddit was kind of a more domesticated version of 4chan, but we use Reddit now for just topical stuff. We've got our 3 different subreddits that we use, and it's an easy way to keep track of links and stuff like that. And I like it for that reason.
I think Reddit and Twitter, and even to some extent Twitch, have to me have a problem. I don't know, problem, but they're like specific in the way that they're more of a bulletin board, a very interactive,
Right.
moving a bulletin board where you can put links, and that's what it is it surrounds like these links, whether it be a video, or a picture, but it's not the interaction. It's less social.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like it's less like I guess what it is it's less everyday, soccer moms, and
Well,
it's more.
it is more topic oriented.
Yeah.
But for someone like me, I guess that fits better than what
Mhm.
Facebook has become, which is, I don't know. Facebook is just kind of in this rough spot, like as far as the purpose that they serve. I mean, are they serving middle-aged men sharing their unpopular political opinions, uh, or actually more than middle-aged men at this point, grandparents ranting, or food, so or jokes. I mean, a lot of memes and stuff. But I do, and Discord, and Discord is a new, these chat things. You got Slack, you got Discord, and
Mhm.
some of those I feel like are just so complicated UI wise. Like I think that really kind of keeps them from getting the sort of mainstream adoption to the level that Facebook has, or Twitter has.
That's what has kept me. That's what I don't like. Twitch. I just feel like the UI from a user standpoint is
Right.
it's clunky and dark.
Right.
It's not attractive or easy to me at all, and it's hard. It's hard to engage with, and it's interesting as social media goes more towards video, and as we've talked about this meta function of this meta connecting piece, where people are chatting while a video is going on. So you got 2 different sources of content, simultaneously.
Right.
I think the person who's going to win the social media wars is the person, is the company, is the platform that figures out a very easy mode of communication.
Well, and it would seem that Facebook has that in place already with the way they're doing their live video. I mean, it's got, real good, easy. But at the same time, I don't know. Twitch just has a very strong position right now because the primary people who are doing live video are there, and they have their own language. And I think their mimetic, their meme language is it's just very strong. It's and that's what I mean. I think in a way they are really the heirs of the message board culture. There's a shared meaning, and irony is well preserved in Twitch. I mean, that's why Kappa is the number 1 emote, or kind of has the pedigree. But yeah, there's a shared language that I don't think has really existed in any of the mainstream apps, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube.
Well, I've said for a while, and I maintain that I think Google could easily win the battle if they would just combine, if they would do social better and combine search,
right,
social, and video
they
into
don't understand
one.
how to do that. That's the problem with them, is that they've just got their hands in too many pies, and they're trying to take over the world instead of trying to really serve their customers. And so, Google Plus was dead in the water before it even really launched. I mean, we do. I mean, you and me like Google Hangouts, but we're kind of like in the minority on that. I feel like these chat apps, Slack and Discord, and some people are even holding out on Skype. So I think that Google just does not have the wherewithal anymore to really win that battle. They've been doing battle on so many fronts.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem with their position is, what is their product, and it is still kind of difficult for people to articulate that, even though they are so pivotal and central to everything. But there were a search menu that ended up at a certain point stopped being a search menu and starting being a gateway. They ended up being a gatekeeper, and that's they just defaulted on their primary promise at the beginning of things, where you'll search for something and be like, no search results. Are you freaking kidding me? And they'll bring up like, oh, this word never showed up. I'm like, we did. Are you kidding me? I know for a fact there's a website where those three words are together. We'll scratch out that third word. Oh no, it's not there.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, guys. Come on. So I mean, they've really kind of, I feel like, and I don't know who the next player is. I feel like if Musk wouldn't be such a Kid Icarus here, and actually focus on problems here,
Yeah.
his mind could have probably tackled some of the stuff. Thiel, he's in bed with the government now with his Palantir thing. So yeah, I don't really know. I feel like the market is kind of open to somebody who's going to, I feel like the future probably has something to do with, Udemy and all these learning sorts of things. Quora, I feel like, I don't think Quora will do it, but I mean, I think that there is a shift going in that direction where people are tired of the BS. People are tired of the showmanship, and they just want something real. Reality TV was a sign of the times for that, but now reality TV it's cringy to even watch it anymore. It's just, we've got here in Panama City Beach, we've got Floribama Shore, and they're filming their second season. And I mean, I couldn't even make it through like just a few minutes of that show. The guy, he would be there. You would think he would be their demographic. He's one of the co-owners of the pontoon business that shooting commercial for I used to work for. And he said he couldn't even make it through half of that trailer. Like, he couldn't even make it. And, maybe back in the day he would have laughed at it, like, oh yeah, there's some idiots there. But like, he couldn't even make it through the trailer now. It's so pleadingly, like, what is the word, like, dysfunctional. It's so pleadingly dysfunctional and trashy that it just doesn't even feel real anymore. It's like, man, I mean, y'all are trying so hard to be dirty, but it doesn't even come off as that. It just comes off as fake.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just have these kind of these sinking ships of authenticity on the TV and the internet, and why news is failing too, because you just after dealing with people on the internet, you go back and watch a news broadcast, or watching people on Twitch even. I mean, watching these guys playing video games on Twitch and then going and seeing them lose their temper in real time, and then go back and see these people just fake it. Like, it just kids can see right through it. My daughter, the other day, we were at it was field day at school, and so I was there for my son, his field day, and all the kids got trophies and participation trophies. And so Satya comes up like afterwards, she was like, oh, he got a trophy. I was like, yeah, it's a participation trophy. And she looks around and realizes they all have one. She's like, oh man. She's like, that makes us all so mad, is they gave us all these certificates. Like, everyone got this certificate for something they did, like all the 8th graders. And she said, yeah, these kids, some of my friends had like a certificate burning ceremony.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And so she said, she says, this is her, approximation of her words. She's like, it's insulting. It makes us feel bad. That's what she said. It makes us feel bad because, like, you don't really mean it. You're just doing this to try to make us feel good. But in the process, like, we see through it. And, this generation, that generation is so irony aware in a way that I feel like no generation prior had. Just because, in large part, due to Snapchat, Twitch, and all these sorts of things. Like, I mean, this new school form of communication. And I mean, Yeah. So
Well, what's interesting to me, I work at a school, and do you know what the number one mode of communication, and it's kind of like a social media thing, is the kids during class. Now, of course, granted, this is not like the most, there's a lot of problems with controlling the kids and stuff like that, but they will be on FaceTime with you. They'll just like have the phone on their desk or holding it, and just like they're sort of be with each other over FaceTime on the bus. Everybody will have their smartphones, and their girlfriend, even their friends, they'll just be on FaceTime. Just like I look down at the phone, and you just see some girl just like doing something else. She's like, oh, okay, who's this guy?
right.
It's weird, but what does that say about the future of for this generation, for the future of communication? And I mean, one thing it says is that they're looking for more, like you're saying, exactly what you're saying, more real time connection rather than
yeah, I think probably the person we should all be reading is Marshall McLuhan. The Medium is the Message guy. It was really astute observer of how this technology was affecting us. And when I was really big into Brave New World, and I still am, I'm still a big proponent of Huxley's Brave New World. Neil Postman wrote his book Amusing Ourselves to Death, in which he gives a lot of time to Brave New World in that book, and looking at how the visual mode of communication has affected just our wiring. But one of these guys I follow on Twitter was saying how really Postman is just McLuhan reinterpreted. It's like he's just more superficial McLuhan, and I really feel like we kind of ignore that to our peril. Both Muslims and Jews, and to a lesser extent Christians, all have this distrust of the image, right? This fear of idolatry, this admonition against idolatry, especially Judaism and Islam. And McLuhan, or Postman at least, when I was reading him, he was talking about how it's warped our minds, and that was it's meant to be true for human beings, that we cannot accurately see the world once we've been tainted by illusion. And since all visual representations are illusions, and this is the thing that is so hard for us to get, they are graphical representations. They're still paintings, just because video is not real. Video is a painting. It's a painting with pixels, and it's approximate. But yeah, and I've kind of struggled. I mean, because video is my primary mode. That's what I use. But I do see how people are so tricked with it. I mean, you look at global politics, or people live and die by what images they've seen, and whether or not those images are true. I mean, that's more of a problem now than ever before. I mean, how do you even know what you're seeing is true? I mean,
yeah. Well, and it might help though, as thinking as sort of an accelerationist, it might help to really lean into some of this face changing stuff, this fakery,
fake,
so that people do mistrust videos. And so that
I think that's exactly right. We have to get to the point where we just take it to its logical. There's no stopping it now. The juggernaut is on its way. And oh man, I mean, the Me Too that's going to happen in the next 5 years, when, every guy's crush is in a porn because of deep fakes where they can just swap faces. This is going to be strange to navigate. And I don't, and so this is why I was kind of high and mighty about it a couple of days ago. I was just like, screw YouTube, screw Facebook, screw Twitter. But if you're them, what do you do? Like, what do you do? There's so many, it's like trying to, whenever Obama was trying to do the Obamacare thing, at that point I was just like, where do you even begin? Like, I don't have any envy for the man trying to figure out that morass. Like, no matter what you do, it's wrong. There's just too many bad actors. They're bad doctors. They're quacks. There's medical malpractice insurance companies that are crooks. There are patients who are crooks. There's the government who has ridiculous bureaucracy that doesn't, I mean, where do you even begin? Like, you can't fix that. Pharmaceutical companies that overcharge for something that doesn't even cost anything. It's just, but there's so many things. If you fix one thing, you mess up 5 other things. And that's why, for me, like in this period this year, building a better me, that's the whole kind of thing. I've noticed it in my life. It's like, okay, I'm working on taxes this week, paying the taxes. And then, you fixate on this thing, and then like 5 other things crop up behind you. Next thing you know, your kids are having a meltdown over video games or something. And, it's like we just have we have our hands in too many pies. I think it's not just every Westerner. It's not just every American. I mean, this is global, this is a global problem. We are tethered to our machines and our protocols and our systems. And a lot of these things are cobbled solutions with a lot of cultural lag and a lot of compromises way down in the foundation, that are affecting the way that we're building now. And we're realizing, oh crap, like we're going to have to tear this whole thing down and get back to that, deal with that. But like you said, it's like, it's kind of too late. I mean, you can't, what are you going to do? Mr. Robot it and, destroy everything. Like, I mean,
well, and that's why the Christmas cathedral is just continuing. It's just growing like a moss over everything. Everything we do, it's pervasive because I think because what you're saying, like we're tethered to these things,
right?
And we rely more and more on big systems,
right,
to fix the problem. And so when it comes to accelerationism, I want to take a step back. We've talked about this before. I want to go to a log cabin and just have no connection, to the internet.
Right.
But obviously, these are extremes. And but I do think there is something. I think there is something in the future here for community, like more. Like what we're doing here, but growing it, so that there's more voices and there's more, but there's smaller groups.
I think we need smaller groups. I think that, like I subscribe to Dyrus. I mean, he's one of my favorite League of Legends players, and just I love the guy because there's just so little artifice with him. He's literally like, I make jokes about me being Eeyore. Well, he has a voice about as deep as mine, and he is Eeyore nonstop. I mean, his stream is literally like, oh, I guess I got him. F you, mother. Yeah, suck my. But the way he says it, it's just so deadpan. Like when he gets mad, even it's just kind of like, hey, I love this guy. There's just no pretense or artifice with the guy, and so I subbed to him last month. But now I'm into like he has a Discord with all these tiers, and so I went into it. I can't. It's like there's so many tiers, and there's so many. They have their own language. I mean, it's like the city of Dyrus. It's like he's literally like in Ready Player One. He's got his own little planet there. And at a certain point, though, it's like when you think about it, when you're going to church, like when I was younger, and I'd go to different churches, and I'd go to these giant mega churches in Atlanta or something like that, and you're just literally a number, and you could just kind of blend into the back. And I think all across the board, I think we are finding these schisms, right? Where people are just forming their own communities. And that's what's for us, like our little tiny subreddits. I've got 100 and I don't know, maybe 200 people in one, and we got 20 in another and 20 in another. And it's been nice. It's like no noise. You don't have to worry about trolls because there's nothing there, I mean, and so, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's almost like smaller is better at this point, and people can kind of have actual conversations again, not just like superficial sort of showbiz conversations. Conversations that you're having while people are watching, which then it becomes something else. It becomes artifice, and I think the Christmas cathedral, I've been trying to think about how to categorize it. Like I'm thinking about it like now as like 2 hydras. I'm trying to figure out what they are. It's not just one hydra. It's not just Leviathan. It's not just the cathedral. It's like this. Maybe they're not even connected. Maybe they just have this symbiotic relationship. And so my metaphors now is get the cathedral, which stands for the state. You got Christmas, which stands for the commodification of religion, of religion. Then you got the college, which stands for what I would say the nefarious long-term effects of child labor laws. That's
You're
what
gonna
I'm
have to
calling
unpack that a little bit. What?
well, I mean, just college spring break.
Oh,
Everything stems back to this. Oh, we love kids, but then when you see what ends up happening, it's like spring break is a fertility cults festival in which no kids are allowed. So it's like, oh, and that is the logical conclusion for treating kids with kids gloves. Giving participation trophies and graduation hats for kids in 4K, where you just basically say the world doesn't have any hard edges. There are no consequences. If you screw someone there, you don't have to worry about any consequences to that. And yeah, hey, don't even worry about grades. We'll let you retake the test 100,000 times. There literally no consequences. And so anyways, I'm just calling that college.
okay.
And then the other one I'm calling California. And California is a couple things going on there. First, the gold rush. That's one thing. And the gold rush has typified so much of American culture where we're looking for places to make money. It's this red ocean strategy where the sharks are feeding. And then LA and the water wars. I think those two things are so indicative of what, the left can sit there and talk all day about, the sins of the American past, but they won't talk about the sins of California's past. They won't talk about the fact that LA is literally a parasite destroying nature, that is literally taking the water from 500 miles away. It's not an oasis. It's a parasite. It's a parasitic place that should not exist by nature. And Chinatown was all about that, about the water wars. And they just want to have their cake and eat it too, talk about. And so basically everything that California does is gold rush, greed at the expense of other people and nature, and then paying for it with indulgences of feigned philanthropy. And I just feel like that's where progressivism is today. But the nice thing about divvying these things up instead of just calling it all one thing, the temptation with calling the cathedral, blaming it all on the cathedral, is that it's the left. No, it's all these different things. The cathedral is kind of just big government centrism. Look at Trump. He is Hillary Clinton now. He just did airstrikes in Syria. Okay. I thought I elected the guy that wasn't going to do that. So, it's the one party system. It's not even the two party system at this point. They all do the same thing. They've been doing the same thing for 100 years since Woodrow Wilson. So the cathedral, that's the cathedral. Christmas is the right wing. It's the Christian who says, "Oh, let's have a Chick-fil-A day to support, Jesus." Because buying things, that's exactly what Jesus would do as a protest. And then California, which is fitting that they're the left wing, the regressive left. Go west, young man, when the evil go east. There you go. You're gonna have the audacity to talk to me about Eastern values and multiculturalism. So then, that's California is that part. And then college, as someone teaching in the school system again, I just see it up close. It's playing bowling with the bumpers mentality. Don't let the little kids hurt themselves. We love kids so much. So much. In fact, we're going to let them rule us. Please don't hurt us, master children. Oh, we love you, but we're going to abort you so we don't have to deal with you anymore.
Wow. That's a gold mine of Ford voices. What? I think it's a gold mine.
I think I offended everyone equally there. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think maybe college. I don't know if that hits it on the mark, but I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. So I love that the quadrilateral of
cathedralification.
Yeah. The scary quadrilateral.
The scary quadrilateral.
The C's, right? So they're all C's. So
ironically, I have a thing for C's, creative, cross-cultural, constructive, and now I have the 4 C demons. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Well, it's interesting, and to get back to social media, which is kind of what we're talking about, and it's interesting that all this comes out of the West, comes out of California. All these social media platforms. I don't know how long that will continue to be the Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
but it is now. But to get back to that idea, to sort of wrap it up, what I would like to do with season 2 of Reverse Redaction. We have a couple episodes left we still have to do. I just finished what was it called? Westworld, speaking of the West. And speaking a lot of this stuff.
Right.
So we could go deeper into social media, or at least what we're talking about here, with that conversation with Jared. And then also Stephen, you brought up Ready Player One. Stephen wanted to talk about Ready Player One.
Yeah, I think we'd talk Ready Player One.
Have you seen that?
I did. Yeah, I wouldn't mind actually watching it again. I don't think I will like it as much the second time. I'm a film geek when I'm watching a movie, and I'm a film snob when I'm thinking about a movie. So
I'm the same way.
I think I already hate the movie when I loved it when I walked out. I was like, hey, well, it was fun, man. I liked it. It was good. And then I read 3 criticisms of like, man, that movie sucks. I was like 3 tweets. It literally took like 3 tweets for this guy to just totally. It's like, you are right, Steven Spielberg. I want to punch you.
Well, let's. I still have to watch it. Let's watch that. Maybe in a week or so we could talk about that, and then we hope to reverse redaction for the season finale, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
And but for next season, what I really hope to do with reverse redaction, I hope we can do, is take this social media idea or this conversation idea to the next level. I think we need to figure out, and I have a vague idea, but we need to figure out and suss out a way to gamify, or at least, have missions, have some kind of playground on the internet.
Yeah, I agree.
We have access to websites. You have your website. I've got a million websites. We have social media. There needs to be some kind of gamification for us.
I agree. Yeah, I think that'd be good. And I think that gets to when you speak about a guy who's been talking about this sort of stuff, Taleb, Nassim Taleb, he talks about skin in the game. That's the most important thing. And so much of the Christmas Cathedral College, California, has no skin in the game.
Yeah,
like they have their what do you call it? Subsidized inertia, you could say. Like everything that it's inherited worth. And so, yeah, I mean, I think if we put it out there and yeah, we actually play. We actually put our money where our mouth is. And yeah, I think that is important.
Okay, well, and we can talk more about that. But for now, I think as far as social media goes, it'll be interesting to watch. And for my part, I do want to continue to look towards creating smaller groups and
I agree.
participating in a wider number of, like, being part of Twitch, developing audiences, but not just audiences, but developing, of course, for me, it'd be more like friendships,
Yeah. I agree. Me and Melissa even said a while back that we really feel like the way forward for us is relational media, not social media, relational media.
I love that. Relational media.
And it's really important, though, that we don't, and this is why I need to read McLuhan, so we don't develop some new media is the message problem. Are we just instituting a new model that's going to be commodified and corporatized, and so I just want to be careful about that. And I think keeping it small will be helpful, like if we can just continue to keep these things small, and maybe some of these communities, they only last for a short amount of time, but hopefully what it leaves behind is something useful for someone who came through it. It's like, oh, well, here's a blog post, so here's some of the things that we learned from this experience. Boom. Something actually that people can utilize, so that it's, like you said, I think we need to have gamify it in some way. Like, what are you going to make with this? What are you going to leave for the world? Don't just make this some masturbatory exercise and self-congratulation, you know. And I just feel like so much of what's on the internet really is just that. It's just, look at me. It's exhibitionism, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that's what we do, but there we need to take it to a new level of value for people, for ourselves, you know, as I think we've established a rhythm, we've established a conversation, you know, but now let's take it to another level of task completion or goal completion, you know.
Agreed.
Gamification. Okay, well, that's a good conversation, man. I think it will continue, especially in our next, you know, as we talk to Jared about, well, even in Ready Player One, Westworld, these are things where social media is going to come up again.
Definitely.
All right. Well, get to work. There is a lot of work to be done, or something like that.
Make your
get to work. There's a lot to do. A lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to be done. Make your own myth.
All right, brother.